Hello, it's Stephanie here. Today in this video we're going to be looking at how to make bread rolls. This is a recipe that uses wheat flour, so if you follow a gluten-free diet then please do not use this recipe. So here we go, this is what we're going to need to make the bread. It's really a 4-ingredient thing. We need strong bread flour, we need salt, we need yeast to make it rise, and we need water. In this recipe I'm also adding a little bit of olive oil because these are small bread rolls and it gives them a really nice texture and it makes the dough a lot easier to work with. Let's start by weighing out the flour. We're going to use 500 grams of strong flour. The strong in the title tells you that the gluten content is quite high, and that will give the bread a nice stretchy consistency and hopefully a very good rise with some good air bubbles. Next up we need yeast. We're going to use just one sachet, that's 7 grams of fast-acting yeast. Next it's time to add the salt. My recipe calls for 8 grams of salt, but I didn't really bother to weigh it. Nothing bad can happen really. Add a bit of salt so it tastes nice, but I must say I do prefer to have salted butter than really salty bread. So now it's time to get the wet ingredients together. That's 300 millilitres of water, that's just room temperature water, and 2 tablespoons of oil. Like I say, the oil is optional, you don't need oil to make bread, but it just makes this very nice. So now it's time to bring the 2 ingredients together. You've added the water and it's time to mix them round. I do use my hand for this. It starts off really sticky, but it gets less sticky as the water is incorporated into the flour. Over the whole period of our bread making, our bread roll making, we're going to be doing some kneading and then leaving it to prove. That just means leaving it in the kitchen worktop, covered over so no dust gets on it, just to wait. So it sometimes seems that bread making takes a long time, but actually each stage is only a tiny bit of your day. You can see I'm just scraping down my fingers. I don't want to wash all of that off, that's part of our dough, but I don't want it on my fingers. And now the dough's incorporated enough to put an 8-minute timer on and just to knead away. I'm getting my other hand involved now, so I will end up with 2 sticky hands. And you can see the dough is really sticky at the beginning. I'll cut to the end of the 8 minutes so you don't have to watch all of it in a second. And the dough is much less sticky towards the end. You'll notice I'm not kneading on a floury board. That's because the ingredients we've weighed out are just what we want, and we do want it to be quite a sticky dough at this stage. It's the right thing. Now we're going to leave the dough to prove. I have washed my hands and it was quite hard getting that dough off, but it's worthwhile having clean hands. I'm going to put the dough, see how small it is, in my huge bowl. I'm going to cover it, please, with a clean tea towel. This is straight out of the cupboard. And then leave it to rest for 90 minutes. So we need to have a look at our dough after the hour and a half, and I hope yours looks about the same as mine. Can you see it's turned into a smooth, large batch of dough? It's doubled in size, but it won't stay like that. We're going to knock it back, but that doesn't mean doing anything particular to it. I'm just going to take it out of the bowl, and you see some of the air has come out. That's absolutely fine and normal. I'm using a little bit of flour now on the work surface. It's a light dusting of flour, and I'm just looking at how elastic my dough has become. The yeast has really done its work. I'm going to split this into 8 equal sections. I know that some bakers would weigh each section to make sure that they're an even weight. I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to cut them in half, half and half again to get 8 pieces. So now I've got 8 equal portions. I'm going to just do an extra step, which isn't necessarily needed, but it does make them easier to work with. I'm shaping each one into a nice smooth round ball, just by tucking in the sides, then turning it over. And then I'm going to cover them so they don't dry out on my work surface as I work with each one. So as we've split our dough into 8 different pieces, we're going to shape 8 different shapes. We're going to start off by adding some flavour to your bread. It doesn't just need to be plain. And this one I'm going to add cheese and chilli. Now this isn't the way in which, if you're running a bread factory, you would add flavour. You would normally put the cheese in with the flour before it was needed. But this worked out absolutely beautifully. You can put as much as you like, and maybe each member of your family could have a different flavour. So you think of your own flavours and add what you like. It worked really, really well. We're going to leave this one as a round bread roll traditional shape. And after I've shaped each of our bread rolls, I did put them on a baking sheet underneath the tea towel again, just to rest for 45 minutes to an hour. And then I put them in a really hot oven, about 200 degrees C. But just for the sake of the video, I'm going to show you straight away what it looks like when it's been baked. So with our second bread roll, we're going to add a different kind of flavour. But like I say, you could just think of the things that you like to eat. This is raisin and cinnamon is going into this one, and we're going to make it into a cross shape, and you will see how that ended out in a minute. So from here on, I didn't add any more flavours to the bread, apart from a special surprise bread product at the end that you'll see. This one I call Twisted. So number 4, we're onto a shape that I call a lemon. It is one of my favourite bread roll shapes to eat. It's very, very simple to do. You can see each time I fold in the bread, I want it to be quite tight on the inside. And you can see I'm folding and folding, and then I turn it over so that the bit that was on the work surface is lovely and smooth. And the folding gives the bread the structure so that when it's in the oven it rises. Now I'm using scissors in all of my items because it's just a lot easier than using a sharp knife. So we're on number 5 already, and this shape is going to be just like a wheat sheaf. Once again, we're going to roll it so that it's got some nice structure. You can see I'm not using very much flour, but just a little bit can help. But sometimes you want the dough to stick to the work surface, as it makes it easier to roll. Number 6, we're going to tie a knot in our loaf, and this is the kind of bread roll that I like if I've got a soup on a winter's day. Number 7, the plait. Now we're getting quite technical. Lots of you will already know how to do a plait, but if you don't, simply break up into 3 equal sections. Once again, I'm using my scissors. And then you need to roll each one out and then plait them together. The simple way of doing a plait is you just always take the outside one and put it over the middle one. The outside over the middle, over the middle, over the middle. Now the 8th and final one is my little surprise for you. It's a pizza base. So when I make pizza dough, I usually use a different recipe to this, but it's just flour and it's just yeast and it's just water and it's oil. So this is actually perfect for a pizza base. And you'll see it's as easy as just rolling it out. Can you see I'm now using a lot of flour? You almost can't use too much flour, in my opinion, when you're making pizza dough. I have floured my rolling pin, I've floured the work surface, I've floured the dough as well. And before you start putting any toppings on, I want you to put it on your baking sheet. The number of times I've put toppings on a pizza and then realised I have to lift up this floppy dough and all of your toppings fall off. I'm using baking parchment because I've never learnt how to make my sheet non-stick, and the last thing you want to do after spending effort making bread is have it stick. I'm going to use some tomato puree and a little bit of cheese. And because I like it and my family likes it, I've put some chili flakes on as well. So this pizza looked a little tiny bit overdone, but I've got to tell you it was really tasty, and so it wasn't an issue. Now, after you have shaped all of your bread rolls, I want you to leave them for 45 minutes on the work surface with a towel on it, and then get a grown-up to help you if you need it, to put them into a really hot oven, 200 degrees C, for 15 minutes. And then they're done, and they're beautiful. So well done if you've had a go making yours.